Today on the Diz List, we discuss the top 5 things that make Walt Disney World magical.
Welcome to the Diz List, the podcast that ranks everything in Walt Disney World. I'm Nick.
And I'm Rob, and welcome to episode 45, where we discuss the top 5 things that make Walt Disney World magical.
You know what's magical?
Chris Angel, Mind Freak. How is that the first magician that comes to mind?
I don't know.
Not David Copperfield,
No.
not Penn and Teller.
No. All right. So, honestly, you know what's I can't believe you did that. I was waiting for you to go, no, Nick, what?
No, Nick, what?
What's magical is having great friends in this Disney podcast community.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that I definitely agree with.
So last week we guested on Rope Drop and Park Hop, and I've got to tell you, it was such a blast.
I had a
lot of fun. If you haven't listened to their show, you need to do it. You can find them all the same places you find us. Follow them on Instagram too. They post some pretty cool stories. It's one of those things where sometimes it's a headache getting a schedule together that works,
Yeah.
but this was so seamless. And then, of course, they're a lot of fun. So it was an upbeat, we brought our format over to their show, which was so much fun. I mean,
It was great.
and you could tell it was just a nice, relaxed conversation about the top 5 things that Disney World does better than Disneyland.
Now, I don't always go back and listen to our shows.
Right.
I know you do just to, check out the
Make sure the audio's okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But this one, I was really excited to go back and listen to it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought it was a great episode.
I
So
do
if
too.
you're listening and you're a regular listener, do not miss this. It's great. So how do they find it?
So they can go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, pretty much everywhere that you find us. You can look up Rope Drop and Park Hop. Another option is, of course, when I think they would like to, is if you follow them on Instagram at ropedrop.parkhop. They will have links right there on their bio. I will try to put, if I remember, I'll remember because I'll listen to this. I'm going to put a link to Spotify, their Spotify and their Apple Podcasts in our show notes this week. It was so much fun. And honestly, it helped with growth for both of us, I think. So,
Yeah.
some of our listeners already commented on Instagram that, hey, because of this episode, because of this, I went over and listened to that episode, and you guys are great. I've been binging them. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I was binging theirs too. Like before we were on, I started listening to a couple, and I just kept going and going. And it's even listening to their podcast, I had questions for them about things that they talked about on their show that I actually got to ask them when we did our interview, which was great. I mean, the whole thing with Disney owning the property where the LA Angels play.
Yep.
So tune in to listen to that. That's pretty cool too.
Yeah. Katie and Aaron are basically the female versions of us, I always like to say, because they are just two friends who finally said, hey, let's turn a microphone on.
They're like really good and snappy. I don't think we're quite as snappy.
No, they're good.
They're good. They're back and forth really quick, and
yeah. I think Aaron's editing them to make them sound that good.
they're good.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, they sound great too.
They do a great job, and definitely for our show and their show, please leave a like. Subscribe to the show. Leave a comment. We would love to get more listener responses and replies and comments on Apple Podcasts or on Instagram. That's fine at DizListPod. Because we've been experiencing quite a bit of growth lately, and we're really appreciative because the only way that happens is through word of mouth, right?
Right.
There's no real. It's not like you're watching TV and it says, "Hey, you should listen to the Diz List Pod." I mean, it's word of mouth. A friend says, "Hey, I listened to these two guys who are ranking everything in Walt Disney World." You should
Which
take a
also
listen."
happened this week. You want to talk about that too?
About which
we got
one?
another great shout out from some of our friends.
Oh my God.
On YouTube.
I watch everything that Rob with Ear Scouts puts out. I always do, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's a great guy.
And I do too, and you beat me to it.
Yeah, he was our first guest, our only guest.
Yeah.
But we're gonna have Aaron and Katie on the show. But he was talking about Animal Kingdom, and he's like, "Yeah, my friends over at Diz List Pod, you can find them anywhere." I was like, what?
I know my phone goes off. I don't remember what night it was. Do you remember what night it was?
It was Tuesdays when I usually do my catching up on YouTube.
Yeah. So my phone buzzes and Nick says, "Hey, did you watch Your Scouts?" I was like, "No, not yet. What is it? What's it this week or what's, I'm obviously always interested." He goes,
Yeah.
"It's pretty cool. Go to, what is it, 24 minutes in or something?"
It was something like that.
Yeah. And I'm like, "Okay." So we're in the middle of watching the Celtics playoff game. And my wife goes in the other room and comes back in. She goes, "Why are we watching the Celtics?" I go, "Watch this." And I hit play. She goes, "Oh, cool. They're talking about you on this."
Yeah.
I love Rob and Eric. They're great guys.
They really are. And
That was cool.
It was just about, he was commenting about how, hey, if you're an adult, like, don't be hogging the viewing places for the Tigers and the
Yeah, we
Gorillas.
talked about the time that I think it was me. Yeah, we were walking through and I wanted to see the Tigers, and like people were just camped out, like these like a whole row of grown men were parked right in front watching the Tiger, not moving for like 15 minutes.
Yeah. Sometimes I think that Animal Kingdom might benefit from like a ride system, like almost like a people mover style thing.
Yeah.
Could you imagine people mover going through like those trails?
That'd be great.
But yeah, I guess that's technically the safari.
That'd be very relaxing. Or it's kind of like the train too.
Yeah, that's true.
Going off to Planet Watch.
Yeah. But we just wanted to direct everyone to go and first check out Rope Drop and Park Hop, and definitely check out Ear Scouts. If you want to plan how to get around the park and get as many attractions done, he's your guy.
There truly is no one who covers Genie Plus better.
No,
And
not at all.
we watch so much
Not at all.
Disney YouTube. They do the best, because I know Eric helps out too, but Rob just does a great job explaining it, and he'll do screen captures on the actual app so you can see. It's not just kind of he doesn't come out and say, "Hey, press this," wah, wah. Like he'll do a screen capture and show where you press. Like, it's very, very helpful.
Well, he's not a teacher, but he could be, the way, because that's how you need to teach. Is
definitely
by showing and stuff. So
but
yeah, both of those shows, be sure to check them out, and we'll be right back after the halftime show, brought to you by Rope Drop and Park Hop. Want to make a podcast? Spotify's got a platform that lets you make one super easily, then distribute it everywhere, and even earn money, all in one place for free. It's called Spotify for Podcasters, and here's how it works. Spotify for Podcasters lets you record and edit podcasts right from your phone or computer. No matter what your setup is like, you can start creating today. Then you can distribute your podcast to Spotify and everywhere else podcasts are heard. Video podcasts are also available on Spotify. When you want to take your conversation with your fans to the next level, Q&A and polls are the best way to get them talking. With Spotify for Podcasters, you can earn money in a variety of ways, including ads and podcast subscriptions. Best of all, it's totally free, and there's no catch. When we discovered Spotify for Podcasters, we unlocked a door to a world where we could celebrate our passion, and we could create a community around what we love. I highly recommend you give it a try. Download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started. Welcome back to the Diz List. We're going to be ranking the top 5 things that make Walt Disney World so magical. And, there's a lot of them. There is.
Now, I remember, what was it, the first or second time that I went to Disney, that my wife on the way home turns and says to me, she goes, "I don't know what it is, but it's just magical. Something about it." And we discussed it, and it's everything. It's kind of the sum of all parts make this just magical place. So, making this particular list is both easy and hard. I mean, how was it for you making this particular list?
Ranking them was hard. There's one that set itself apart just because of the reaction my children gave when I asked them what makes Disney magical for you. But I think the rest of them were very hard to rank, and I do think we might have some overlap.
I wonder. I don't know. It depends on what direction.
Yeah,
I mean,
it really depends on what you think. I do think that the you're Disney Rob when you're there, and your wife even said, I can't wait for you guys to meet Disney Rob when we go
And
on the
to
trip.
be fair, there is also a Disney Nick.
Yes, that's true. But like we've told the story 1,000 times about how you were right about I didn't go just once, but legitimately, I'm a pretty stubborn individual, and so when I had said I'm not going back, it takes a lot to convince me that no, you're gonna do this all the time now. Like it took a lot, and it's because it's magical, and there's reasons that I go back. You know, there's just something about that place.
Well, I'm curious if that happened with our friend Brian too.
I
Because
think it
Brian
did.
had told me, he's like, well, we're gonna go once, and I think he just is coming back now. He posted some pictures this week from his trip. I'm curious if he comes back and says, all right, we're going again.
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
we'll see.
I would be shocked if he didn't, put it that way.
Yeah.
But-
So, Brian, if you're listening, let us know. Are you going back soon?
Yeah, when are you going back?
Hopefully soon.
Yeah. All right, you want to jump right in?
Yeah.
This is your number five.
five. One thing that makes Disney magical is something you don't necessarily think about, but is kind of a big deal and is even more important now that I've been to Disneyland, and that is sight lines. And what sight lines are is when you are walking around the park, you are immersed into that particular area, and you don't look over and see something from a different land or a different area. One of the most interesting examples of this is Epcot is very close to Hollywood Studios. Like they are practically neighboring, and you can walk from one to the other if you really want to. You have, I haven't.
I have, yeah.
Yeah. So if you were looking, and you're in Epcot, and you're looking directly at the Morocco Pavilion, directly behind that is a giant tower, which is the Hollywood Tower Hotel, the Tower of Terror ride. So what they did when they decided to build that particular ride, because Epcot was there first, is the back of the Tower of Terror ride that you can see above the Morocco Pavilion. They actually painted it the exact same color as the Morocco Pavilion. So that sight line where you're seeing those particular things, it matches up and it looks the same.
Yeah, I wonder, because they have gone a little away from the sightline worries. They have. I mean, I think it's hard to deny that they haven't moved away a little bit from the sightline
Sure.
concerns. But I wonder if that would always restrict us from ever getting like a Mission Breakout.
Oh,
Because they definitely can't have that same paint job with Mission Breakout. But
the exterior of that building is incredible.
Yeah, I'll say this: the sight lines really do keep you in the magic, and I would also say that it's kind of like a magician, where hence the magical, right? Where hey, look here, don't look here. So they're smart about things that are placed in a way that you don't realize, that, okay, well, over here, if you look this way, that sightline's not great. But we're going to put so much amazing stuff over here, you're never going to realize you're not in the magic.
Well, and another thing that they do, and this is kind of a joke, but they actually call it this, is whenever something is blocked off or wrapped, so they're in any kind of construction, they call it go away green, or is that what it's called? Is that right?
Well, I don't know if that's what they actually call it.
Yeah.
It might be go away green. That is kind of a thing that's not just a Disney thing either.
Okay.
So if you go to
New York City, or
no, like if you go to a golf tournament, like a live golf, so the PGA is going to be in Rochester soon.
Sure.
And the last time it was in Rochester, I went. I had week passes, and they have the go away green wrapped around all the bleachers, all of the stands, because when the camera is out there, it actually. You can't tell that there's that much stuff, but when you're on the ground, you're like, wow, there's a lot of stuff here. So it's funny that they do the same thing, or they'll do the blue. Like if it's high enough, they'll do at Disney, they'll do the like the sky blue sometimes.
Yeah, they do that for Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, like the building color and stuff. So
yep.
Yeah.
So what'd you have for number 5? Mine was sightlines.
So my number 5 is kind of an all-encompassing big idea, and it is comfort.
Oh, okay. Not on my list. Great.
So
agree completely.
I am a person who I've always said I don't want to travel someplace I wouldn't want to live, if that makes sense. Like I not that I want to go and live in Florida heat, but I guess what I mean when I say I don't want to travel someplace I wouldn't want to live, I want to feel comfortable. I don't want to be made to feel where I'm like not in place. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And Disney does a great job of making you feel comfortable. And I don't just mean like, like an old pair of sneakers or, that chair that you always sit in. I mean like comfort in the way of like, when you go to a restaurant, you feel like you've eaten at that restaurant 1,000 times. You feel like the wait staff knows you personally. They have a
Right,
conversation with you. I mean comfort like that, but I also mean comfort in the sense of like safety, right?
Oh,
So
that's a good point.
So like I don't ever feel like if my kid is, wandering 10, 15 feet ahead, that they're in harm's way. Now, I'm not letting my kid go off by himself or herself, but
Why don't you tell the Tower of Terror story?
oh yeah, so we wanted to go on Tower of Terror.
Yeah. The 4 adults.
Yeah, did all the adults
Yeah,
go?
all
Oh,
of
yeah.
us did.
So the 4 adults wanted to go on Tower of Terror. My son also wanted to go.
Yep.
My daughter, Rob's daughter, and Rob's son were like, nope, we don't want it.
My son had done it before, and he at least tried it, and he was
Right.
like, no, thank you, please. And my daughter does not like elevators at all, so
Right.
that's fine.
So you're talking about 3 kids ranging in age at the time from 7 to 15.
Yep.
And we felt no problem saying, hey, we're going to go get in line, go on Tower of Terror. You 3 don't run off, but you guys go around, look in some shops, do your thing. And like they went and got some PhotoPass pictures and they did their thing. Now,
They got a snack.
right, Rob's daughter is extremely responsible. And
Yeah, and she
I know,
babysits.
I know she's not going to run off with the kids and do something dangerous, but like,
She has her phone,
Right,
so we
and-
felt pretty comfortable.
but at the same time, I don't know that I would do that at every theme park.
No.
I
And
don't-
that's why I think your point is really good, is you feel pretty comfortable knowing that
Yeah.
you're not too worried if, and they weren't going far.
No. I mean, they stayed right in that general area.
Yeah.
Was that Hollywood Boulevard?
Yeah,
or
the
whatever?
whole boulevard area.
Yeah.
They didn't go over to Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah.
They just, got a snack and went into some shops.
Yeah. So comfort is a big thing for me. So that's my number 5.
That's a great one. Yeah, that's good. And when you first said comfort, my brain went a different direction, actually.
Where'd yours go?
Mine went to like comfort in the in the beds.
Oh my
Because,
gosh. Yeah.
My wife's very particular about being comfortable when we're in our hotel room. And, we feel that, besides maybe some of the, I almost said budget hotels, but the, what's the term that they
They're
use?
called value. I don't
The
know.
value, right.
I don't know how much
The
of a
value
they-
hotels, and I wouldn't say they're uncomfortable, but anything from maybe your moderate and up to deluxe, obviously, but the beds are very comfortable.
Yeah.
And that comfort was kind of a big thing for us, too.
That's very true. I will say, just to add and piggyback onto that really quickly, is that they've switched, as they keep switching the pull-out beds into the new fold-down Murphy beds.
Yeah.
Those Murphy beds, those mattresses are just as comfortable as the regular one.
Yeah.
The pull-out couches, not so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, they are comfortable. That's true. That kind of comfort is very true as well.
So my number 4 thing that makes Disney magical is the details, the tiny little details that you never really notice. And there's a lot of things that fall in this category, and I could list for a long, long time.
Yeah.
So I wanted to focus in on one that I always find really incredible and fascinating, is the details that you find on the ground. Okay?
Yeah.
I know you've noticed this before too. So as you're walking around the Disney parks, depending on where you are, if you look down at the ground, there could be something that visually coordinates with wherever you are in that particular land. Put a couple examples in here too, and there's many more. No, I didn't put that one. He's laughing.
I was waiting for the Poop River.
No, I didn't. I didn't go there. You can. And I thought about that one for sure. And there's one actually very close to that. So the first one is in Storybook Circus, which I think I've talked about before. So when you're back in that far corner in the Magic Kingdom in the area called Storybook Circus, you can find on the floor little peanut shells pushed down into the concrete and circus animal tracks walking all around that area as well. It's really cool. You noticed that one before?
So you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't look down, basically,
Yeah.
because I did not know that one the first trip.
Mm-hmm.
And the second trip, I was paying a little bit closer attention because I had kind of gone, down the rabbit hole of Disney, and I was like, whoa, that's amazing.
Now, two of my other favorites, and you feel free to add one in if you want to in this particular category. When you're in the Little Mermaid, there's shells
Oh, yeah,
all
yeah.
in the pavement.
Yeah.
That one's great. And one you may not have noticed that I don't even think I've talked about this on the podcast before. So I'm a big Haunted Mansion guy for our new listeners. And if you're in the Haunted Mansion and you see right by the entrance, it looks like a horse and buggy, but the horse is not there. There's
Right.
no horse. It's just like this invisible buggy. But if you look down, there are horseshoe prints walking away or two, I can't remember which, from that actual buggy. Did you know that?
I did not know that
Yeah,
one.
it's really cool.
That's
Look that
cool.
one up.
Yeah.
That's a fascinating one. You got any that you like?
Not in Magic Kingdom, but if you go over, I mean, I like the ones in Magic Kingdom, but if I'm gonna, I don't think any story about ground surfaces is complete at Disney without talking about Andy's footprints.
Oh, yeah.
So
I thought you were going to talk about the light up concrete in Epcot.
I mean, there's that too. There's
Yeah.
the
the
there's-
fiber optic.
yeah, and then you got the bioluminescent stuff. The paint, they're using paint, but like it's supposed to be bioluminescent stuff over in Pandora. But,
Yeah, that's cool too.
I meant the footprints of Andy in Andy's backyard. So I mean
That's
that's
cool, too.
another good one.
Yeah, great one.
The details on the ground, details in general, but details on the ground, I think are who else thinks of those things, right?
Imagineers do.
Yeah, I mean it's amazing. It really is. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, so details is my number 4. What do you
Cool.
have?
So my number 4 is about how they bring fiction to reality better than anybody.
Yeah, they do.
So I didn't really think of a way to give this a title. So I'm just going to say it's, bringing the fiction to reality. As an adult, you think, okay, there's going to be characters, it's going to be awkward. And some of them are. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Especially, I think the costumed characters, so the full cost, not the face characters, whatever you want, furry, I don't know what you want to call them.
Like Big Al?
Yeah,
Give me
sure.
an example.
Mickey.
Okay, sure.
I feel like that's awkward.
Okay.
And Donald, I think, can be awkward, right? Just because they can't talk back to you.
Well, and a lot of times when you do a meet and greet, the handler interacts for me.
Yeah, and I'm not saying, and this is not me saying that those aren't good. I'm saying that for me, the fiction to reality piece really hits home when you start talking to someone who looks exactly like
Merida.
So when you have Merida, when you have Kylo Ren, right? Because that's how he dresses. When you have a stormtrooper, or Chewbacca, right?
Yeah, we just did Moana. Moana was so nice in
I mean,
Disneyland.
We've talked about how, as grown men, we nearly, or some of us maybe did cry when we hugged Chewbacca.
I think both of us.
I mean, there's definitely this idea that it really helps you to kind of relive your childhood. I was not lucky enough to go to Disney as a child. Not because, I wasn't, we didn't do vacations, just because we didn't do vacations in Orlando. And when I went as an adult, I didn't think that this would impact me, but I will tell you it does. And it's shocking how much they bring fiction to reality. You feel like you're part of the story. Meeting the princesses, I've told this story before on the podcast where I was in Morocco and I turned the corner and like in the bazaar and it's like, that woman looks like Jasmine. Oh, it is Jasmine. And it's like, here come, Aladdin and Jasmine walking through the shops and they're pretending like they're shopping. And then like everybody's like whispering, like there's celebrities there that like, oh, don't let the celebrity know that you're. So it's just amazing that like they do a great job bringing that fiction to reality. That's my number 4.
They really do.
Yep.
That's great. My number 3 is, I'd be surprised if this wasn't on your list. My number 3 is smells.
My number 3 is smells.
Excellent. All right, good. We're going to tag team. All right, so I made a list of some of my favorites of the different rides that have smells. And there's other places too. Like Main Street USA, they're going to pump out, it was cinnamon roll smell or something like that.
Cookies and stuff like that.
So a couple of my favorites. First one, or do you want to go back and forth? Do you have some favorites too? I'll start.
I just go ahead.
I'll start with Soarin'.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Soarin's awesome.
And there's so many different smells in the ride Soarin'. So, I don't know, one that's more of kind of the
jasmine.
sea mist. Oh, yeah, that too. Right.
Yeah.
That's actually a really good one.
Yeah.
Pirates, which exists in Orlando, but I don't remember the smell when I was at Disneyland.
I can't speak to Disneyland, but I can speak to Disney World, and I will tell you, I love that smell.
Yeah, it's like a weird smoky fire smell.
Yeah.
But it's not a bad smoky fire smell.
No, it's like a campfire.
Yeah, it's really great.
It smells like the place that this podcast was born.
Yeah, that's a good point. My next one is PhilharMagic with the apple pie.
Oh, and I'm sorry, but they did something different because it was stronger this summer.
Yeah, it was.
It was definitely stronger. And like, I don't even know that I remembered it smelling. And this time it was like, there was no missing it. That's apple pie in your face. And it was good. Like, I felt like it was Thanksgiving. So
the next one I have, my wife actually bought a candle from the Magical Candle Company, I think it's called.
Yeah.
And it's Flight of Passage.
Yeah.
So she bought the Flight of Passage candle because when you're on Flight of Passage and you kind of dive down and then the whale type thing comes out of the water, you smell that sort of smell. That's kind of what we have a candle for.
Now I heard that smell, that scent, is actually the same scent they use for the jasmine flowers or whatever over in Soarin'.
Yeah, that would make sense.
That's what I had heard that somewhere. I can't remember. But I mean, Flight of Passage is an amazing ride, but those smells, and that's what makes this magical, right? We're not just saying, oh, it smells good. This is not like, oh, good, I don't have to smell bad smells. These are well curated, thought out smells that they had some chemical engineer figure out exactly what it was, and they do certain things to your brain. Okay, and this is not me like being hyperbolic.
No, studies have shown.
Like, you remember it. When I smell the smells that you smell in the Poly lobby, it takes me to Disney and imagine. Yeah. So it's not even, it doesn't stop in the parks. That's the amazing thing. My wife so we're staying at Bay Lake Tower this summer, and my wife just bought some candles that are supposed to be the scents that Contemporary has.
Oh,
so
really?
Like to kind of get us in the mood. So it's fun.
Cool.
You can do that because I'm telling you right now that scent is so closely tied to memory that's why they do this. It has to be.
Oh yeah.
Soarin' is probably the best example of a ride though, because there are so many.
There's so many different ones.
Yeah. Whether it's the grass or the sand or the mist or the flowers, it doesn't matter. The only thing I think they miss a little bit is they could do a quick burst of like I don't want to say sulfur because that doesn't sound right, but the scent you get when you light a match or when a firework goes off.
Yeah.
Right when they're flying over Epcot, I think they could pump a quick burst of that because the fireworks goes off. But a not so magical smell. You know where I'm going with this one?
I don't.
Figment and the skunk.
Oh yeah. I forgot about that one.
So
the only other one I had was the Haunted Mansion smell. Is like if something bad smelled good.
Yeah.
Like if everyone's basement smelled like the Haunted Mansion.
So it's got a smell that is reminiscent of a basement, but not a bad smelling basement, just a basement. It's weird. It's not like moldy,
not bad,
but it's definitely basement.
Yeah.
I want to throw on too about because you mentioned the burning scent in Pirates.
Yeah.
But there's more than that. It's the water, right? You can smell that water.
Oh, the bromine.
Yeah.
And I'm not. When we were there last summer and we were swimming,
but that's swimming. That I don't know what they use in the.
Yeah, I don't know.
It definitely still Pirates water still smells.
Okay.
Not in a bad way.
Bromine is it's the chemical that they put into the water, and that definitely has a smell. It's a better smell than chlorine.
Yeah.
Chlorine's very harsh.
And it's pretty typical. I mean, like a lot of fountains that are like municipal fountains, they'll use that, and you walk by and I'm like, oh, Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
But yeah,
outside that tattoo shop, they have the little that fountain. That's the smell there too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I'll bump right to number 2 since we matched up on 3 with smells. My number 2 reason it's magical is the sound.
Yeah. I mean,
do we match up on that one?
We don't.
Okay. Now I don't mean specifically like Small World.
I know. I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, like when you're walking around any of the parks, they have hidden speakers here and there, and it will play this atmospheric music that you don't really think about, but I always look forward to. When I get to Magic Kingdom or when I get to Epcot, there's this entrance theme. Okay, when you get to Magic Kingdom, it's kind of that happy. I don't even know how to describe it. I couldn't even describe the sound on Main Street. It's kind of like happy, almost like I don't know.
Yeah,
I got to look it up. But it's a whole lot easier to explain than one in Epcot. And that's sort of this like anthemic, futuristic.
Yeah.
It's almost like keyboard style music. Really, really, really great.
Mm-hmm.
So those are two examples. I also really like the music that they play in Frontierland when you're walking around with the banjo music.
I think the main thing to take away from what you're saying isn't that the music is something you'd necessarily go home and listen to. Not everybody. I certainly will have play a Magic Kingdom loop at home at times.
Yeah, we do too.
But it's something that puts you in the place. It's really hard to describe to someone who's never been that it really does match the surroundings. It's like it's as if your day has a soundtrack.
Yeah.
Like has a musical score that someone came in and made.
Mm-hmm.
And it's insane, right? Because like you say, Epcot's is anthemic.
Mm-hmm.
It really is.
Yeah.
Main Street is kind of old-timey.
Yeah,
I don't know
that's a better way to describe it.
You know, and then you've got Frontierland,
Almost
which
like
is
an organ.
Yeah, it's like an old-timey organ.
Yeah.
Like there is something about walking around these parks that just is the sounds really do match.
Yeah.
You know?
And for example, Tomorrowland sound as you're walking around is in the same ballpark as Epcot's, but they have completely different feels to them.
Oh yeah, more. I think Tomorrowland is kind of a little bit more. I don't want to say upbeat, but kind of
A little spacier.
Yes, yeah. There you
where
go.
Epcot's more futuristic.
Mm-hmm. I would agree. And it's not just sounds like that too. I mean, it sounds like walking through Africa and all of a sudden hearing the drummers.
Oh yeah,
That's a sound that you hear, and that sound is really quite. It's, it takes you there. It's as if you're in an African village, right?
yeah. That live performance.
Yeah,
and you can always kind of tell when something's live or when it isn't live. When you're walking around
absolutely.
the parks too.
Yeah.
So yeah, number 2 is the sound as you're walking around the park. What do you have for 2?
So my number 2 is something that I've mentioned before that they do better than anyone. That is the nighttime spectaculars.
Oh.
So as a child, for me, fireworks were always like my favorite thing, right? To go to the 4th of July fireworks was like this thing that was just so amazing. I used to love it. And then as an adult, it was like, why do we only do this once a year?
Yeah.
And at Disney, they do it every day.
Every day.
And the shows are so amazingly well themed because you're not just going and watching a bunch of exploding fireworks. You're watching fireworks with projections. The lights are changing. The music is changing. The themes, the way that they do their nighttime spectaculars in Disney World are just magical. You know what I think of? I don't know how many of our listeners have seen this movie, but The Sandlot. Okay, in the movie The Sandlot, there's a scene where the kids are running around the neighborhood, and it's a really horribly CGI like fireworks scene. But like it's like 1970s middle America running around, kids playing in the streets at night with families watching these fireworks that are going off, and that scene is like something that's straight out of Hollywood, right? I feel like when you're watching the nighttime spectaculars at Disney World, it is straight out of Hollywood. I feel like lost in it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter which one. It doesn't matter if it's Fantasmic. It doesn't matter if it's going over and watching the fireworks at Epcot, or watching them over at Magic Kingdom, or in Animal Kingdom they used to have, or they do have, but the Tree of Life and stuff like that. They used to have the rivers of light, which I never got to see actually.
We saw it as we were leaving that one time. The one time we were there and we were in, oh geez, I guess we were in Pandora, and then we walked all the way across and around, and we saw they're like big floating. They almost look like lotus flowers.
Yeah,
that's the only part we really saw as we were leaving. Yeah. We didn't stay and watch the whole thing.
But it's just there's a reason it's on this list so high. It is remarkable what they can do. And I just get lost and feel like a kid every time watching them.
You haven't seen the electrical parade yet, have you?
I have not, but that's a good one too. Is the water pageant, because I have seen that.
Yeah, which is definitely a
Nighttime Spectacular.
a cousin of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've seen 2 versions of that one. So I saw the 50th, and then I saw the other one prior to the 50th. I don't know if how they'll be changing it, or if they'll be changing it anytime soon. But I'm hoping when I go that the electrical parade is back.
It's fun. I mean, I absolutely adore that soundtrack. And I mean, our theme music that I wrote is based on that.
It's born in it.
Yeah. So next time you hear the start and you hear our theme music, it's, that's kind of where it came from.
Yeah.
When we first started the podcast, I said, I want to write a theme song that kind of sounds like the electrical parade, but
I was right on it. Yeah.
it has like a bigger feel, like would encompass all of Disney, but lives in that world.
That whole MIDI world. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
All right. So that was my number 2, which brings us to your top pick.
Yeah. So my top pick it's a very vast, grand idea, but it's so much more relevant to me now that we took this trip out to California. Okay. And my number one thing that makes Disney magical is the immersion. It is having this giant place where it's the bubble, you could use that word, being part of the Disney bubble, having all this giant amount of space. When you first arrive and you see that arched sign that says Walt Disney World, every single time we take a picture and we're so excited and we're like, we're here. You go through that, and now all of a sudden you're in this whole other place. It's like a whole other country. It's like, I've been to other countries in my life, and it's the closest thing I can compare it to is going to Europe. It's completely different, or close to you probably would be growing up going to Montreal, or it's completely
Quebec
different
City,
there, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what I compare this to. Is it's so magical that, I mean, yes, there's a McDonald's, but you don't really see, isn't like a 7-Eleven here, or your regular life is not going on because you're in this whole brand new universe, this immersion, this Disney bubble. You just, there's nothing like it. And I'm trying to think of anything that I've come across in my lifetime, all my travels, that's similar. And besides, like, obviously any other Disney park, I'm not counting that, but just an environment that's like that. It's pretty wild.
So I think that immersion is part of what makes it comfortable for me. So
yeah, I would say those two are related. Yeah.
So I think that's a definitely related. You think about Universal, right? And when you're in the parks, you're very well immersed. Like I don't think any land in Disney is done as well as Harry Potter stuff in
it's
Universal.
Incredible. I'm not going to argue that either. It's amazing.
But the difference is when you leave the park, you've left it, right? It's not as immersive as the Disney bubble. And you are so right that it's like you're everything. Like you go to the Poly, you might as well be in 1970s tiki culture, like there, right? You go to the Grand Floridian and you automatically, when you walk in, you feel one of two things: out of place, or you feel hoity-toity and like, I'm going to hold my pinky out here.
Yeah.
You go over to Animal Kingdom and you feel it. It is remarkable how well they immerse you into your surroundings and into the bubble. So
even
I think
like
that's a
walking
good
in the parking lot, or even, not to be weird, but you walk into the restroom. It's just different. It's magical. It's I don't know.
Well, I mean, you go to the mall. They're not pumping in music to the mall parking lot, right? But you go to the parking lot at Disney, and like as the closer you get, the more music you hear. You hear all these things. Yeah. You hear the whistle going from the train. Everything, right? And so I think that saying immersion as number one makes sense because it kind of encompasses all of your other picks.
Yep. So that's my number one. I mean, if you've been there, you get it. Everyone uses that term now, the "if you know" term, but that's really it. If you're listening and you haven't been to Walt Disney World, you'll get it after. If you re-listen to this, you'll go, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree, and I mean, it definitely is a very immersive experience. It's not my number one because I didn't think of that. I didn't think of it. I thought kind of like.
Well, I'm glad we didn't overlap a ton.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so what do you have?
My number one is something that when I ask my children, what's the thing that makes what makes it magical for you? And some people might argue that my number one is very similar to one of my other ones, and it might be similar, but it is not the same. And my number one is the characters.
Oh, yeah.
So,
oh my God, you were going to love Disneyland.
so, I said for number 4, you know, bringing the fiction to reality. And part of that was like the characters. But I also said in number 4 that what I'm talking about here is like the face characters. What I'm talking about when I say characters here, it's everything. Because, and this isn't so much about what makes it magical for me.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
So you mean like the walk around characters and the meet and greet characters, or just the fact that Disney owns Marvel and Star Wars and Pixar?
I mean the actual characters you can meet or walk around.
Okay, gotcha.
But what I was saying before was that they do a good job bringing reality, the fiction to reality.
Yeah.
This, I don't even care that they're fictional, right? I don't care that I know that that's some 5'2", somebody who falls between 5'1" and 5'3" or whatever they have for their restrictions, who could fit in the Donald costume. I don't care that I know that, right?
Yeah.
What I care about is seeing the reactions of my kids, other kids, adults. Like, it's awesome. I'm sorry. It is awesome to watch those characters. It is magical because it can take the most grizzled old man and turn him into like a puddle of emotion when he sees his favorite character. He might identify with Donald. He might identify with Mickey. Perhaps Goofy is his thing. Doesn't matter. You see these adults, and they have reactions just like these children do, right? And that to me is magical. When we say people watch, this kind of people watching is totally different. Sometimes we people watch be like, what kind of shirt is that? Right? Bibbity bobbity broke. What are you doing? Right? Most expensive
day ever.
Yeah, I roll. When I see this kind of people watching, when I watch adults and kids alike fall in love again and again and again when they see these characters, it gives you all the feels, so to speak. And people can say it's weird that I, as an adult, think that that's cool and enjoy it. And, that's what, Disney adults are so cringe. Guess what? We're not for you. That's cool. Yeah. I don't really care.
Yeah, I don't care.
Like, because you probably waited online forever to get your Taylor Swift tickets, too. So, she's not for me. So that's fine.
Yeah.
Like, this is something for me and my kids. And honestly, even if it weren't for me, to see the way that my children react, that is truly what makes Disney magical, is that the characters really and truly are there for that moment. And that was my number one. It was my children's only thing they said.
Love it.
And I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
So.
No, it was good. We only overlapped on one, but we both agree with all of them. I mean, this isn't really one where there's a lot of debate because there's so many things that are good. And this is just one of those lists where we're just listing awesome stuff.
Yeah. Had you said turkey leg, I would have been like, no.
I haven't even tried it.
Yeah. Well, you don't want to. I mean, but somebody could have said food. You could have said food.
Yeah.
And like for my family, food is a big part of our vacations. So it would have made sense. But it's crazy how magical that place is. Because like Rob said, if you know, you know. But if you don't know, well, you better get to know.
You know what, though? I don't really have any honorable mentions. And I thought about it, and I'm like, these are the 5 awesome things for me.
Yeah, and honestly, any honorable mention that I would have had, you kind of had.
We kind of covered all of it. And a lot of times we do, and not this one. I mean, it's just, these are the things that make it incredible for me.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
it's
we could say
incredible.
food is both honorable mention for both of us.
Yeah.
Food, snacks, that kind of
But
thing.
that also could fall under the comfort and the safety idea of like, you know that your family's not going to get sick. So, yeah.
That is true. Well, this is a great one.
Yeah.
I'm walking away happy today, and I hope listeners are kind of doing the same thing and you're enjoying it. And if this is the first time you've listened, welcome and thank you. I know we have some new listeners.
We do.
And this is so cool that you're coming on this ride with us. I hope you enjoyed it. Share it with a friend. Share it with an enemy. It'll cheer them up.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
This
episode will.
This episode will, yes. And please leave on social media, leave us what you think makes Disney World magical. But it's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow, and tomorrow's just a list away.
Tune in next time, and we'll see you real soon.